Welcome to the Post Credits Podcast, where we talk about movies after the credits roll. My name is Jesse.
And I'm Max.
And today we are starting on part one of our most anticipated list for 2026. Me and Max have both come up with a 25 film list of films that we are most excited to see in the coming year 2026. Logan, who is unfortunately not present with us, just how it shook out, he has prepared a top 10 that he will be sharing in part 2. Right now we will be going from number 25 to number 11, the first 15 films on this list.
Yeah, so essentially we're shooting this in one. We'll split it into two, so by the time you guys watch this, you probably won't even realize we shot it in one. So Logan will be joining us later, giving us his top 10. But as of time of recording, it's almost been a year since we started this thing. And continuing the yearly tradition, our very first episode ever was most anticipated movies of 2025. So many predictions both of us had for what we were going to have for each one of those movies. And same thing carries through. It's literally been almost a year since we were going back and forth, teasing each other and dangling the carrot over our heads as of what movies made the list and what movies didn't make the list.
Yeah, so that's a very important thing about these episodes. This is one of those episodes where we don't discuss anything other than very vague hints about the lists before we present them. So our reactions are our genuine reactions. We have a couple of guesses on what's on each other's lists, but we don't know for sure. For all we know, we could be completely wrong with every guess we've ever made. Yeah. Up till now. So these are our legitimate reactions to each other's lists.
Yeah, this isn't staged. I promise you guys this is not staged at all. I legitimately don't know what's on Jesse's list. And yeah, I guess with that being said, I started it last year, and this year I'm going to have Jesse start this one. So I'm going to turn it over to you at number 25.
All right, let's get this started. Number 25.
Oh boy.
So this is a movie that I initially did not have on my list at all when it was announced. Some of these they get announced and I know immediately, I'm interested in this. This one, not so, despite the fact that on paper it seemed pretty good, because this is a sequel to one of my favorite movies of all time, but I didn't like who they got back to direct it. This is The Social Reckoning.
Oh. I didn't think this one was on your list just because you told me you were so skeptical about it.
So I was very, very skeptical about this movie. The Social Reckoning, if you're unaware, it's a sequel sort of to The Social Network in the sense that it's still written by Aaron Sorkin, but just follows a later misadventure of Mark Zuckerberg, who's played in this movie, I believe, by Jeremy Strong.
Yeah, I think so.
The thing is, the way that they announced this movie was just really, really bad because they said it's called A Social Reckoning, which I still think is a stupid title for the movie.
Yeah, honestly, I'm just glad it's not Social Network Part 2, because I feel like that would have been an even lousier title for this one.
Well, it would have been especially loudly because none of the original cast is coming back. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, this isn't a movie about Eduardo Saverin, so like they didn't need Andrew Garfield back for like a cameo or something. But not getting Jesse Eisenberg back as Mark Zuckerberg and essentially having to recast every role while telling a story that feels completely disconnected, to me it just felt like, why are you actually hinging this on being a sequel to The Social Network?
Right.
What are you trying to hide? I was skeptical of it. I didn't believe that they thought this movie was actually good enough to sell if it wasn't connected to one of the most beloved movies of the 2010s.
Right. As for me, I remember when this one was announced. Interesting cast that they got. I mean, Jeremy Strong, Mikey Madison, coming off her Oscar. This is her first post-Oscar movie, which I think is very interesting. That at least caught my attention. Bill Burr is apparently in this one, the comedian Bill Burr.
Yeah.
I think, isn't Jeremy Allen White also in it?
I believe so. I believe Jeremy Allen White made his way into this film. It is a good cast, and as castings kept getting announced for the movie, it just got closer and closer to my list until it eventually landed at number 25, where it stands right now. Typically in the past, my picks from 25 to 21 have been movies that I'm cautiously optimistic about, movies that I'm looking forward to, even if I don't know so much about them or I have my reservations with them. And that certainly fits this movie, because still I'm unsure why it needs to be Social Network Part 2, other than Aaron Sorkin is back to write it, but also he's back to direct it.
Yeah, which, I mean, for me, that's the hook of this movie for me, is Aaron Sorkin. I feel like the movie as a whole, I don't think we need a follow up to The Social Network, and I'm fine that they got a new cast, because I feel like if I don't want them to build the Mark Zuckerberg cinematic universe, at least
Right.
personally. Because if they brought Jesse Eisenberg back, as great as he was, part of it wouldn't sit right that they're just turning the guy who made Facebook into like a franchise essentially with more than one movie. Aaron Sorkin I think has talent. I loved Trial of the Chicago 7. I loved the movies he's written primarily. The original Social Network as well as Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs, the
yeah.
Danny Boyle picture.
Yeah, the Danny Boyle movie that I saw a couple years ago. I'm surprised this one made it at 25. Even with all your skepticisms, I guess how come it's 25?
As opposed to like not on the list at all.
Yeah.
Just because Aaron Sorkin, at least he knows how to point a camera, and since not having it on my list, I've watched Trial of the Chicago 7, which I hadn't watched before, and he gets out of the way in that movie, but he certainly does film it. It is really just they're making a sequel to David Fincher's movie without bringing back David Fincher.
Yeah.
And it's just this would be top 5 if David Fincher was back. I worry if it'll suffer without the craft of David Fincher, without what David Fincher brings to a lot of his movies. Because, again, he doesn't write any of his own scripts.
Right. He's only a visionary director. Which,
right.
I mean, he didn't do this one. He was doing another movie, which may or may not be
he was doing, and just there's no denying that when you bring David Fincher on a podcast, on a project, he changes it in some way. And I was worried that this new script that didn't have a David Fincher attached to it would be less interesting than the original. And also, the original is just so hard to beat. It is in my Letterboxd top 4. There's really only 2 or 3 movies that I think are actually better than it.
Yeah. I guess we'll see when this one comes out, if it's any good or if it's any bad. It's just, off the top of my head, a sequel to The Social Network is one that I don't know if should be made.
Right.
But I especially don't like that they're marketing it as sort of as that.
Yeah, that's my big hesitation with this movie. But the cast is really, really good.
Yeah, and Aaron Sorkin's talented, so we'll see.
Yeah, we shall see. So I'll move on to my number 24, and the way we typically structure these is I do 5, then he does 5, then I do 5, then he does 5. And so we do that instead of just going back to forth.
Yeah,
back and forth.
Yeah, because it gets repetitive.
Right.
I feel like if you break it up into chunks, you get a few that you are excited for, a few that I'm excited for.
Yeah. So this is a movie that is done by one of my favorite actor-turned-directors, and actually kind of relates to my previous pick because this is Untitled Jesse Eisenberg musical comedy.
Oh. This was... I actually thought this would be higher on your list. But I guess... if it's untitled and there's no premise, I guess.
There's a premise.
Oh, what's the premise?
So the premise is we have this shy woman who I believe is played by Julianne Moore in this. She's unexpectedly cast in a lead role, I believe a lead role, of this musical that is putting on, a local theater is putting on. And it's about her relationship with acting, with theater, with music, and with the director, who I believe is played by Paul Giamatti. And this movie also has Jesse Eisenberg in it. He directed, a couple years ago, he directed A Real Pain, which also starred him and won Kieran Culkin an Oscar.
Very good movie.
Deservedly.
Yeah.
And I loved A Real Pain. And it also has Halle Bailey in it. I find Jesse Eisenberg to be a fascinating director and a fascinating writer, and he wrote this one again, another original screenplay from him. I loved A Real Pain, and I loved what it did with its characters, and this feels like the kind of premise that Jesse Eisenberg would be good at. He's also one of my favorite actors.
Yeah.
And just generally, this feels like a really, really good fit for him. Maybe I just don't know enough about it, and that's why it's not higher.
I was about to say, question for you. With all that being said, why 24?
Why 24? Yeah,
because I would have assumed this one would be in your top 10, top 5. Because I saw this, I was doing research for the list a little bit, and I was trying to guess your picks, and I just came across this one, and I know how much you love Jesse Eisenberg and A Real Pain, and obviously we just talked about The Social Network. I was like, oh, that's guaranteed top 10. So you having it at 24 is kind of shocking to me.
Yeah, so I put this on kind of early on, and it was higher than 24 when I initially put it on. It kind of fell down as time went on, and it was just because we heard so little about this movie, and good cast, good premise, but just hearing absolutely nothing. And it felt like we were getting more swept up in the projects that Jesse Eisenberg wasn't in, The Social Reckoning,
Yeah.
versus what he was actually doing, which was Untitled Jesse Eisenberg musical comedy. And, it's slated for release this year, and we don't have a title for it, which is not, not atypical necessarily, but for a movie that I'm putting in my top 25, it just feels like it's moving really, really slow.
Yeah. Does it have a confirmed release date?
No, it's
Okay.
supposed to come out in 2026. I have a couple of movies, and I'll point them out when we get to them. I have a couple movies on this list that are supposed to come out in 2026, or
Yeah.
people close to the production have said they're coming out in 2026. This is one of those.
Yeah. I mean, it's the beginning of the year. I mean, release dates for everything haven't been announced.
Right.
I guess I don't really know too much about this movie other than Jesse Eisenberg's next movie.
Right.
I'm not a big musical guy, as you may have guessed throughout some of the other episodes that we've done. So that part scares me a little bit, but I'm curious to check this one out. I do like Jesse Eisenberg quite a bit. I was a big fan of A Real Pain and thought he was great in The Social Network.
Yeah, it's more of just a gut feeling of like, I don't know. And I'm not going to put an I don't know movie in the top 10. So this feels like a perfect place for it.
Yeah, that makes
just
sense.
a little worried about it for whatever reason. Oh, okay. My number.
I don't know if you dropped something there.
No, it's just so okay. I'll explain what happened there. I host this list on Letterboxd, and because it's an upcoming movie, the posters change for it pretty frequently.
Oh,
And the poster changed, and I wasn't used to the new poster. My number 23 is an animated movie. I like animation. I know. Every year I try to put something animated coming out next year that I'm interested in seeing to support the art form. And honestly, I'll be real. Next year looks a little bleak in terms of animation. But there are some really, really solid hits in here. And this is from a directing team that I really love, because my number 23 is Forgotten Island.
Called it. I knew. I was scrolling every single animated film coming out next year. I was like, this is the one. This is the one. This is the one that's gonna make your list. Because
yeah.
I think you can go more into this, but didn't they do? What was
Puss
the
in
other one?
Boots: The Last Wish.
That's right. Puss in Boots: The Last
Puss in
Wish.
Boots: The Last Wish, which is by far the best Shrek movie. One of the best DreamWorks movies.
Yeah, it's in my top 3.
It is fantastic. And, I mean, recently DreamWorks has been really, really good. Because they had Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. In 2024, they did The Wild Robot, which was amazing.
Yeah, I still haven't seen that
And
yet.
it's so good. I don't think they did much this year, but they've been on a good run, and just seeing that we are getting this team back to make a movie that is supposedly deeply rooted in Polynesian mythology,
Ooh,
really, really, really interesting to me.
that does sound fascinating, actually.
Yeah, so the directors are Manuel Mercado and Joel Crawford, and it stars, I mean, the cast of voice actors, it's her, Lisa Soberano, Lea Salonga, and Dave Franco.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, Dave Franco.
just
He
gotta
had
bring it up,
he had
throw
quite
it
a good
in there.
year in 2025. At
He-
least in movies that he was in.
He sure did. And honestly, the thing with Forgotten Island and the reason it's this low, we only just got a premise for this movie, and it's a really generic premise.
I was about to say, I all I knew about it was the title, DreamWorks Puss in Boots: The Last Wish team, which, I mean, they nailed it once with a movie that I would have bet money would have sucked, or at least not sucked, or been fine.
Right.
But yeah, I personally I don't know too much about this one until I guess the premise seems like it just came out fairly recently.
Yeah, so the premise is these two characters find themselves stranded on a forgotten island, and then they need to get home.
Oh,
That's a pretty generic and bland premise, and I'm really, really rooting for the directors and the writers and the mythology that this is steeped in to bring this one home, because it's a premise that you can do well, you can do poorly. A lot of movies do it poorly because a lot of them are just the same movie. So I'm hoping that they do it well, And, maybe this simple plot summary doesn't convey the nuances of what they're actually trying to do here. But it really was a little worrying when it came out, and I was like, oh no, don't let it be one of these movies that just completely wastes its premise.
Yeah, and waste talent too, especially with the people they got for it.
Right.
Or the people that are making the movie, so to say.
Right. And, it's been, 4 years at this point since Puss in Boots?
I think so, something like that.
I don't know how long this movie's been in development. Animated movies typically in development for a lot longer than live action ones. So I feel like it would be wrong of me to say that I don't believe that this movie was thought out, because it's original. It's by two auteurs that I trust at this point. They've made something really, really good. It feels like it should be a slam dunk, and I'm really, really hoping that it is a slam dunk.
Yeah. Hopefully it can deliver on that. I guess at first I was a little surprised that it was lower, but I mean, given your reasoning behind the premise and everything, I could see why it fell down a little bit, but I knew once I saw it, I was like, yep, it's on your list. No ifs, ands, or buts, cuts, or coconuts, and you'll hear me say that phrase probably many more times. He's
been saying it a lot about movies that he thinks are on my list.
Yeah, that I have been, yeah.
So moving on to my number 22.
Yeah.
My number 22 is... So last year, if you watched the episode, there was a lot of mainstream entertainments, a lot of movies that people expected to do really well, a lot of Marvel pictures in particular, that didn't make my list. I had 0 superhero pictures in general, I believe, on my list last year, because typically it doesn't interest me, and honestly, it's so boring and frustrating to follow a lot of those universes, which is why I was so surprised last year when I liked James Gunn's Superman. So this year, my number 22 is Craig Gillespie's Supergirl.
Wow. Look at you, you got a comic book movie on your list.
Yeah, I got a comic book movie.
I was about to say, because I remember last year when we were doing our most anticipated, Superman was not even close on your list.
No, it wasn't. So last year we did runners up and honorable mentions, which we're foregoing this year for the sake of, we have, if there's no overlap, 60 movies between the three of us that are going on this list.
Yeah, so there'll be no honorable mentions. The 25 we're talking about for both of us will be the 25, plus Logan's 10 for when he joins us in part 2. But it just didn't work last year. But anyway, continue.
Yeah, so it wasn't, because it was the start of a new universe. And honestly, I had become so annoyed with the MCU that a start of a new universe meant less than nothing to me. It was like, okay, it's the start of a new universe, so you're just going to get really convoluted and it's nothing's going to mean anything anymore, which is what happened to the MCU, which is why I wasn't excited to see Superman. I ended up seeing it anyway because it was on your list. It was your number 1.
Yeah, it was my number 1.
And yeah, I was just surprised by how much I legitimately really, really loved it. I mean, love's a strong word, but liked it.
Or yeah, you really you thoroughly enjoyed the movie, I would say. Or I don't want to speak for you, but
no, I thoroughly enjoyed the movie. That's a totally fair thing to say. And it really worked for me on a lot of levels. And part of that was because James Gunn was behind it. James Gunn's a good comic book auteur. He knows what he's doing when he's adapting these stories, which kind of makes me a little bit more ready to look forward to something like Supergirl, because I know that behind the wheel is James Gunn, someone that I do trust, and he's putting this forward. I have to imagine, as head of DC Studios, that this goes through him on some level.
Yeah.
So Supergirl, directed by Craig Gillespie. A trailer released for it. I don't watch trailers, so I'm just going based on whatever premise has been released. We have Supergirl, played by Millie Alcock. She appeared briefly in the end of Superman. She's going across the galaxy with Crypto, who is not a currency, but rather the dog that is
cryptocurrency. The lovable dog.
Yeah.
From that we all saw in Superman, who quite literally destroyed anything that it got. Or anything that it got near.
Yeah, and she finds this young girl, played by Eve Ridley, in what will be her introduction role, and sets off on some sort of quest to get revenge, presumably against Lobo, played by Jason Momoa.
Oh man, as a DC fan, that casting makes me so excited. Not to speak too quickly ahead of myself, because this is your placement.
Yeah.
But Lobo is a cool character. He is a bounty hunter in the world of DC. And if you just look at a picture, or if you're listening to this right now, you can Google a picture of Lobo. It looks exactly like Jason Momoa. So after the DCU got canned, casting Jason Momoa.
The DCEU.
DCEU, excuse me. Yeah. The casting of Jason Momoa as Lobo is like almost perfect.
Yeah.
Or pretty much perfect, I would say.
Yeah, he looks like he'd play a good Lobo. And honestly, the characters were introduced to me enough in the Superman movie that I'm looking forward to seeing Millie Alcock come back. And again, that casting tracks really well for this movie. And I don't know many of the people behind the camera. I think Craig Gillespie directed I, Tonya.
Yeah, it was I, Tonya, Cruella, and there's something else he was known for. Let me look it up.
Yeah, but so I'm not super familiar with the people behind the camera.
He did Dumb Money. Who's the other
Dumb
one?
Money. So I haven't seen any of those 3 movies, but I've heard good things. So I'm a little bit ready to trust this movie, but it didn't make it out of my 25 to 21 kind of section, because it's a superhero movie in an era in which I am uninterested by most superhero movies.
Yeah.
I mean, 2025 was an especially good year for superhero movies, with 2 that I would actually classify as like good. And in previous years, there have been like 0 to 1 in some cases.
Yeah, especially coming after 24. That was awful.
24 was one of the worst years for superhero movies.
If not the worst. If not the worst.
Yeah, comic book movies as a whole really suffered, with 3 Sony Spider-Man-less movies and Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah, and then it was The Crow.
And
I think there's some Hellboy reboot that year, which apparently sucked.
Yeah, so superhero movies, I'm always a little cautious when approaching them because of how saturated the genre is. And especially, again, this is still the start of a new universe, and I'm really concerned about that. But so far, James Gunn hasn't let me down exactly. And we're still in the exciting phase of this universe, so I feel pretty good putting it up there. That being said, if this movie's bad, I don't really know how that's going to look for the future of the DCU, because if James Gunn's the only one that can make good DCU movies, most movies can't be directed by him.
Yeah, or shows.
Well, I mean, shows, that'll be more of a Lanterns thing, I feel like.
Yeah.
Lanterns is not James Gunn, I believe.
No, it's totally
different crew. But like James Gunn did Peacemaker, and I liked Peacemaker. And then TV, that's a whole nother thing. If the DCU TV is good, then sure, whatever, So, yeah, I guess I'll move on to my number 21.
Yeah, I guess last of your section.
Yeah, last of my section, then we move on to Max's list.
Yeah.
But my number 21, oftentimes I'll encounter a filmmaker whose stuff I hear about, both good and bad, and I hear about it in such a way that makes me intensely interested in them. And I don't always follow up on that immediately. Last year, I heard really interesting things about Osgood Perkins' thriller, Longlegs. That was interesting, and because of what I heard, I put his horror movie, The Monkey, on my list.
Yeah, I did as well.
This year I have a new filmmaker who I'm doing the exact same thing for. This is because I was really interested in Boots Riley's Sorry to Bother You, so this time I'm going to be really interested in Boots Riley's I Love Boosters.
I have no idea what that movie is. I'm going to be so honest. Who is it? Who is that one by?
Boots Riley?
Boots Riley?
That's his name, yeah. Boots Riley, he did Sorry to Bother You in 2018, so 8 years ago, which starred Lakeith Stanfield and Tessa Thompson in like this really weird stylized universe. It took place in a call center, like a telemarketing center. I haven't seen it. Apparently it's really, really good. And at the very least, what I've heard about it is that it's really, really interesting. So I Love Boosters stars Keke Palmer, Naomi Acme, Lakeith Stanfield, and Demi Moore, and Will Poulter, who I really like. And it follows professional shoplifters who are taking aim at this really big guy in the fashion industry.
Oh.
Yeah, I know.
Sounds interesting.
It sounds interesting, and coming from a filmmaker who I've heard so much about, good and bad. Again, good and bad. This is about him being interesting, not me assuming that Sorry to Bother You is wonderful. And yeah, I'm just really, really interested for what he brings to this story. And this one was actually kind of announced a little late. Like,
I just looked it up. I'm actually embarrassed to say how many times I've scrolled past it when I've seen 2026 movies.
yeah, I had done my list, and then I was like, okay, this is pretty good. I feel like this isn't moving. And then it came out, like it announced its release date, and I was like, oh my god, Boots Riley is doing another movie. Because Boots Riley, Sorry to Bother You, as far as I understand, is his only movie.
Yeah, he's a rapper.
Yeah, and if Sorry to Bother You is as interesting as people claim it is, and it seems that interesting, and I've heard it from every single person who I've ever watch the movie, I have no reason not to be excited for I Love Boosters, and the only reason this didn't make it out of my bottom 5 for this list is because I haven't seen Sorry to Bother You.
Oh.
And if I had seen Sorry to Bother You, and if I had loved Sorry to Bother You, this could have cracked top 10. But I don't know. So I don't know if Boots Riley jives with me. It just sounds like he does, and that's enough for me to put it on this part of the list.
Yeah, I mean, a movie you're interested in absolutely should make your list. So.
Yeah, should we hand it back to you?
All right. Yeah, I guess it's my turn.
Ooh,
So
this is exciting.
25 to 21. Before I hand it back to Jesse, which is kind of surreal now that I think about it, since the last time we've done this. My number 25 is might be a little bit of a controversial one, just given where I have it and not the movie itself. I have The Bride. Maggie Gyllenhaal's The Bride.
The Bride.
Yeah, I've been optimistic about this one since its initial announcement. This is, I think, her second outing. I know most people know Maggie Gyllenhaal as the woman they recast as Rachel in The Dark Knight. Also, Jake Gyllenhaal's sister, who he's also in this movie, stars Christian Bale and Jessie Buckley. Jessie Buckley coming off Hamnet from last year, and Christian Bale, obviously a proven actor himself. It's essentially a retelling of The Bride of Frankenstein. And there was a trailer that released for this. Originally, this was supposed to come out last year, I believe, and then it got pushed to March of this year. The trailer looked really interesting to me. The vibes of it were cool. The tagline, really, really bad, I will say. I did not like the tagline.
What was that? Beware the Bride or something?
Here comes the motherfucking bride.
Oh, okay.
All you had to say was "Here comes the bride" and you would have been fine. But no, you got to push it.
Very Megan 2.0.
Yeah, I was about to say very Megan 2.0. This movie does look interesting. Obviously, it is in my 25 most anticipated. What kind of knocks it back, why it's not a little bit higher, is that it did get delayed almost a year for reasons that I don't know, because I know it wrapped production well before that.
Right.
And since the first trailer, there hasn't really been a whole lot on it. And the movie comes out in 2 months from now. And supposedly it's also kind of a musical, which I'm not too crazy about, but that's mostly on speculation.
Yeah, it seems like a Bonnie and Clyde kind of situation. And I don't watch trailers, but I happened to catch The Bride's trailer while I was in a theater for something else. And yeah, it looks like a Bonnie and Clyde kind of Western thing with the bride played by Jessie Buckley. And Maggie Gyllenhaal and Jessie Buckley also worked together on The Lost Daughter, which was Maggie Gyllenhaal's other film.
I think it was her first outing.
I believe it was her first directorial thing.
Like her first directorial.
Yeah, and Christian Bale as Frankenstein, the monster.
Yeah.
And Christian Bale, Maggie Gyllenhaal reuniting from The Dark Knight.
Yeah, kind of interesting detail. And then also, I hinted at this earlier, but Maggie Gyllenhaal casting her brother, Jake Gyllenhaal, to be in this movie as well. Pretty cool. I have some skepticisms. If this movie's great, I can see why. If this movie sucks, I won't be terribly surprised. But this is one that it caught my attention enough to say I am looking forward to watching this movie at some point. I haven't seen The Lost Daughter. I've heard good things about it. I love Christian Bale as an actor. Jessie Buckley, especially after coming off of Hamnet, I will love to see anything that she's in.
Right.
It looks interesting. The Bonnie and Clyde aspect, I think, actually looks quite cool. Just some things that hold it back a little bit. So I guess moving on to my 24. This is one that when I say what it is, you'll be like, that's a movie that will definitely be one that I like, but also one you'll be like, really? Yeah, that's on your list?
Uh-huh.
Is How to Rob a Bank.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah.
So
Interesting. Okay.
yeah, so this is the next directorial effort from David Leitch, who, if you don't know who David Leitch is, he's director of Hobbs and Shaw, Deadpool 2, The Fall Guy, Bullet Train, essentially directs action movies, and is co-founder for 87 North, which is a stunt, basically a production company that focuses on stunt work for movies. They handled the John Wick series. They did Love Hurts last year, which wasn't great.
The action was fine though.
Yeah, the action was fine. But yeah, anytime David Leitch is behind a camera doing action, he knows how to bring that stuff to life. I thoroughly enjoyed Bullet Train. I really liked The Fall Guy from 2024, starring Ryan Gosling. Really enjoyed that movie. This one, I think it stars Nicholas Hoult, which is kind of funny. Nicholas Hoult dyed his hair during the Superman press tour. So everybody, when he was interviewed for Superman, asked him why he had blonde hair, and he was like, "Well, I'm filming How to Rob a Bank with David Leitch." So yeah, it stars him, and
he's Lex
think,
Luthor, so he should have no hair.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I was gonna look up who was in it.
Yeah. I think I have it pulled up. Let me see. Yes, it's Nicholas Hoult, Zoe Kravitz, Pete Davidson, John C. Reilly, a few other people as well.
Yeah.
It sounds like a fun premise. Like bank robbers are. It's essentially the premise is bank robbers are posting their heists on social media and cause the police to go after them because of it. It sounds like a fun action movie, but really David Leitch is the selling point as to why this one's on my list. Like I said, not terribly high. It's not one that I'm like, I need to watch this right now, but a movie that seems to be on my wavelength, and one hopefully I'll enjoy and hopefully won't bore you, because I know you're not the biggest fan of action movies.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing with me is I'm not the biggest fan of action movies always. 87 North has an interesting style of action. I'll give them that. And so their fight scenes can be really, really very engaging. I've also seen them do some really bad ones.
Yeah.
John Wick 3 is rife with really boring action sequences.
I totally disagree with you, like, wholeheartedly.
The first half of John Wick 2 is not interesting in the slightest in the way that they film the action, but it's like I certainly I see where you're coming from on that, and it really is just a movie that I see it and I'm like, okay, and that's it. That's where it ends.
Yeah, that's fair. But yeah, guess that's all I have to say about that one. Number 23. Speaking of 87 North, this is their second big outing from next year. A sequel to a movie that I thoroughly enjoyed. By the same people, I have Violent Night 2.
Oh, I didn't know this was 87 North.
Yeah, they did the action for this one.
Okay.
If you don't know what Violent Night is, it's essentially an action movie that takes the idea of people who don't think Die Hard is a Christmas movie and be like, okay, we'll do a similar idea, but Santa Claus is going to be the one kicking ass, and David Harbour as Santa Claus. I had a really, really good time with Violent Night. You got him, you got John Leguizamo playing the bad guy. And just the idea of doing a sequel is something that I'm really on board for. I didn't love Nobody 2 last year. I know the sequel to Nobody, but I feel like hopefully with Violent Night, since it is the same team returning to do this one, I'm hoping that it can at least deliver on that. Really enjoyed David Harbour in that first movie. Yeah, it's another one that not rushing to see. Not one that I'm like, I need to see this right now. But another one that I'm like, it's more so my thing. And coming off of essentially more borrowed trust. I really like the first one and kind of want to see what's next.
Yeah, interestingly enough, this and the first movie were written by the same writing team behind the 3 Sonic the Hedgehog live-action movies.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
And I haven't seen the first Violent Night. I was supposed to at some point, and plans kind of fell through. But I've heard good things and bad, kind of mixed things. But yeah, this was a movie that was on my radar in the sense that I knew that it was coming out, and I'm not that surprised it's on your list, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah.
This really does feel right up your lane. And yeah, it's directed by this, they got the same team back, same actor, same writers. This feels like a legitimate sequel. And I totally get, like, if you like the first Violent Night, this feels like it's a no-brainer to get onto your list.
Yeah. But yeah, like this one, the last one, like I've said, it's like I'm a big fan of action movies, and two unironically from the same studio, which I didn't immediately realize until reading them off. Are both I am very much looking forward to. At least, hopefully, I have a good time, and hopefully they at least are action movies that have some merit to them. On the total opposite list at number 22, and I'm gonna try to duck and cover before Jesse lunges over the table and kills me for this one. And this one I have a lot to say, and I'm sure Jesse's gonna ask me why this is on my list. Michael.
So, Michael.
Yeah, I have Michael at number 22.
Okay, so I don't like musical biopics.
Yeah.
This is something, if you watch the podcast, we reviewed Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere on the podcast fairly recently, and I didn't like it at all. I just don't like how rote and template-y and just the same all of these movies are. I'm not so surprised that you had Michael on your list, considering that it made your top 10 last year when it was slated to come out.
Yeah, I mean, granted, there were different things about the movie that came out at the time.
Yeah, and I'll say, not only do I not like musical biopics, I don't think Lionsgate likes this movie, like, at all. Because they didn't show anything at CinemaCon. There were reports coming out that they didn't like the final cut, that Antoine Fuqua's cut was too long. They didn't know how to market Jafar Jackson. They didn't know how to do anything surrounding this movie. They're going to split it up into 2 parts. Now they're not. They delayed it a year. It just felt so, just, like, sloppy and messy, and did not draw me to a movie that I was already fairly uninterested in.
Yeah. I guess I'll kind of give my thoughts on this one. I know they had to reshoot the third act because of some legal thing. I get that there's things surrounding this one. But the draw to me is Michael Jackson.
Sure.
I'm not a musical biopic fan at all, but inherently when it's somebody you're interested in, it makes your list. Everyone said the teaser looked like shit. I didn't think it looked bad, and I kind of am guilty for saying that. It kind of hit some of the right nostalgia buttons.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the 2-part thing is not. I don't know. It was a lot of rumor mill. None of it was confirmed. None of it was denied. But like a lot of that kind of it fueled why it was on my list of just like whether it's good or bad, I want to see what it turns into. I'm expecting it to leave out a huge portion of his life. Maybe there will be a part 2. Maybe there won't be. I'm curious to see how Jafar Jackson does playing his uncle. I'm curious to see how they handle some of the music elements. I know Antoine Fuqua is directing this one, who's someone that I wasn't expecting to helm a movie like this, but he got Denzel an Oscar with Training Day and also directed some action movies that I think are quite fun. The Equalizer and Olympus Has Fallen, to be exact. And it's another one that, proven screenwriter John Logan wrote it. He's written some very, very good movies that I enjoy. But like I said, this one, I'm very much aware this movie could be terrible. But I'm curious. It's more on my list to say I'm curious to see how this one turns out. Not so much, I'm excited. This is going to be like the greatest thing ever. I'm curious about how this one will turn out. And it's...
Yeah, and that's why the bottoms of these lists exist, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not excited for it, and I don't think that's a spoiler to say.
Yeah,
I don't think anyone expected me to be excited for this one. And honestly, I'm in the boat of I don't like the teaser that they showed. I think it looks too much like, hey, we're jingling some keys in front of you. Remember Thriller? You like Thriller? Like, yes, I like Thriller. Everybody likes Thriller.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of cautious of the movie, and a little too cautious, as well as it being a genre I don't typically like. That the talent behind the camera, I mean, look, I like John Logan as much as the next guy, but it's not going to get me to see the movie. Or, I mean, now that it's on your most anticipated, I will see the movie, but it's not going to get me excited for it.
Yeah. It's just like I'm just curious to see how it'll turn out. Like how, like, the main focus of this one I feel like is his rise to stardom, which he started his story about how he got famous, especially how Thriller was made is kind of interesting, especially exploring his early days with the Jackson 5. I'm curious about it. I am very well aware this movie could be awful. Yeah. Like at the end of the year, if it's bottom 10 for all of us, I won't be surprised as why. But I'm curious about it. I'll be there. I'll be singing. I'll be tapping my foot to the songs. But yeah, it's more of an optimistic pick. But I would choose to watch this one over the 3 below it. I originally had this at 25, and then I was like, I'll squeak it up a little bit just because I have a little bit more curiosity than the ones below. Just because the ones below essentially are borrowed trust or a movie that I was a little hesitant of.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That's totally reasonable. Just from your perspective, and I figured, you were excited for the first time it was supposed to come out.
Yeah, I mean, granted, I'm less excited for it now than I once was. I was really interested in it at first just because they were going to address the things about Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
The footage still exists. Michael Jackson's a big name. If part 1 does well, will they greenlight a part 2? I don't know. Will they not? I don't know. I don't know what the move is. But it's one that, they put a trailer out fairly early to when the movie was coming out.
Yeah. I do think they want butts and seats for this one, and we're coming off of an era in which musical biopics grossed a lot of money. Bohemian Rhapsody almost hit $1 billion.
Yeah. Will this one hit $1 billion? I don't know. Michael Jackson is the biggest pop star in the world, or at least was the biggest pop star in the world.
I mean, he still has a solid case for number 1, just of all time.
Yeah. But yeah, this is one. I'm not gonna say if it's one of my more controversial or not, but this is one of the ones I've talked about. Is by far the one that I'm gonna get probably some eyebrows raised as to why I have this one, but I can't lie. I'm a little curious about this one. But yeah, I guess I'll move on to I'll move on to my last one of this section before I hand it back to you.
All right.
Is a movie that for the longest time I was not happy with having on my list.
Okay.
They dropped a trailer for it, which looked interesting, and there's been a lot of people online that have responded well to it, including myself. I have The Sheep Detectives.
Ah, that's nice. That's murder mystery.
Yeah, essentially it's a murder mystery with sheep. A guy who's in charge of a farm of sheep, played by the lovable Hugh Jackman, is found dead, and the sheep in the farm, who every night, Hugh Jackman's character would read murder mystery novels to them, pretending like they don't know, but in reality they do, or they do pay attention. And when he's found dead, they're led to solve the case.
Yeah.
It looks fun.
It looks very silly. We need a little bit more silly.
I was about to say, it looks silly. The premise is really original, and I feel like a lot of movies that come out are just, remake sequels. I mean, I just talked about a musical biopic. Like,
it's ironic. It is based on a book.
Yeah, it is based on a book. 3 Bags Full, I believe is the name of it.
Three Bags Full, a sheep detective story.
Which I think, apparently the book was good.
Yeah, I haven't read it, nor have I looked much into the reception to it. But the premise is good.
Yeah,
this is a good premise.
Yeah, the premise is good. And the trailer, it looked silly and dumb and fun in all the wrong ways, or all the right ways. Excuse me, not the wrong ways. This movie would not be on my list if it was the wrong ways. It looks like a good time. I'm not expecting it to be like 10 best of the year. I'm not expecting it to be top 20. I'm expecting a good time. It's a fun premise. It looked like a cute movie. And what's especially interesting, honestly, the thing that really made this on my list, it's written by Craig Mazin.
Yeah.
Who, if you don't know who Craig Mazin is, he is most known, especially nowadays, for writing the Chernobyl series on HBO, which for my money is the greatest limited series of all time, and as well as being the creator, showrunner, writer for The Last of Us, the adaptation of the video game. Those are both really good. So the first season of The Last of Us, and especially Chernobyl, are really good. And he's doing this movie.
Yeah.
Which, that is very interesting to me. I wonder if he's doing kind of like a George Miller thing, where George Miller does Mad Max and he also does Happy Feet.
And Babe, too.
And Babe, Pig in the City. So it's is he going to become one of those? Kind
of hope so.
In his earlier days, he was known for writing superhero movie, as well as being the co-writer for Hangover 2 and 3. So for the longest time, people are like, this guy doesn't know how to write. He does Chernobyl and The Last of Us, and people all of a sudden are like, Chernobyl guy, Craig Mazin. But yeah, seeing his name on this one, I was really interested on, and I'm wondering if the trailer kind of captured that he found a way to balance the silly and the fun, and also have a good story to it. So.
Yeah, and this is directed by Kyle Balda.
Yeah, he did
a long time the Despicable Me animator or director. He did Minions: Rise of Gru.
Yeah, which I would actually say is
a good movie.
Yeah, I would actually say is one of the better ones in that franchise.
It might be the best. It's weirdly good. But yeah, it's in experienced hands. And yeah, no, I think that's a fair pick. We all need a little bit of a good time kind of pick.
Yeah, and I think it looks original enough, looks fun enough to make my list. But with that being said, for I guess jumping into the 16.
Yeah, that should be right.
I will hand it back to you. Go for it.
All right, so I'm gonna go into another filmmaker who released their first movie. Heard a lot of interesting things about it, mostly good, and I was like, okay, cool, neat. That seems really interesting. I'll get around to that. I put it on the old watch list. Then they released their next movie, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be bad. And they released it, and people were like, oh, this is actually really, really good. It's really, really interesting. And I'm like, okay, now that you've done a franchise horror film, I'm excited for whatever you have to do next. That franchise horror film was A Quiet Place Day One. This is Michael Sarnowski's next film, The Death of Robin Hood.
Interesting. Yeah, this is a guy, I've seen Pig. That was done by him, starring Nicolas Cage, which I love that movie. I constantly recommend it to people. I think it's just an example of how to do indie filmmaking properly. Essentially, it's John Wick with a pig, not a single action sequence whatsoever, and focuses on the shady underground restaurants of Portland. It sounds weird. Like, the world building's so similar to John Wick, but it's not an action movie, but it's... I can't exactly describe why it's so captivating, but it just is. I don't know. I haven't seen A Quiet Place Day One. I haven't seen any of the Quiet Place movies. A Quiet Place Day One, I know, got mixed reactions.
I heard good enough things about it.
Yeah, I didn't. I heard okay things about it. But yeah, I did hear about the death of Robin Hood, and they just released a trailer for this, didn't they? Like a day or two ago?
Yeah, and again, I didn't see it because I don't watch trailers.
Yeah.
But I did see some of the stills. Robin Hood is played by Hugh Jackman. This is
Speaking of Hugh Jackman.
Yeah. We're following the end of Robin Hood's life, the death of Robin Hood, but not just a physical death, right? Like, yeah, he's old, but he's also confronting a lot of what he did in life, and I think it's kind of weighing the ethical bounds of the Robin Hood story.
Yeah.
This thief, murderer, criminal all around, but was what he did that was good? How do we weigh what we did that was bad versus what we did that was good coming to the end of our life? And this also stars Jodie Comer and Bill Skarsgård. I think Noah Jupe is in this one.
Yeah, I believe he is.
So it just feels like a really interesting premise. I don't know if it's horror necessarily, drama perhaps, but it looks very, very interesting. And especially Michael Sarnowski, who's a little bit more, shall we say, established than Boots Riley.
Yeah.
Who's directing Isle of Boosters, which is the one below this one. This one feels more like, I really love the premise. I know a little bit more about the premise. And the director, I've just heard more and more good things about. So I'm really, really excited for this one.
Yeah. Fair pick. I'm a big fan of Michael Sarnowski, excuse me. I really like Pig, as I talked about previously. I haven't seen A Quiet Place Day One. This one almost made my list.
Okay.
The thing that killed it for me was the Robin Hood side. Anytime someone adapts Robin Hood, I roll my eyes.
Really?
I don't care for the story. It's been done to death. And I know this one's a unique angle. I did watch the trailer for it, and it just kind of solidified. It's just like, I'm not big into Robin Hood.
Okay.
If anyone can pull it off, I mean, hopefully Michael Sarnowski can, because the last Robin Hood movie, at least that I saw, was with Taron Egerton and Jamie Foxx. I despise that movie. It's everything wrong with Hollywood blockbusters, but Michael Sarnowski's really come into, I guess, his own. I don't know. Hopefully this one will be good. I trust him more than anything. And pretty good cast. It's just, it's a idea for a movie that I'm not, that doesn't be like, oh, a new Robin Hood story. I'm like,
oh, hooray. Yeah, no, I get that.
Another one.
I get that. But I haven't seen that many adaptations of Robin Hood. Maybe, and look, Robin Hood's a super adapted character. We're all familiar with Robin Hood in some way or another. And maybe it's just that we're getting a fresh take on what I believe to be a public domain character by this point.
I think so. I would believe so.
And it's not just a slasher. This is a legitimately dark take, a legitimately interesting take on a classic story. And in a world in which, as soon as things go to the public domain, we get slashers on them, I'm just really, really happy that we've got someone doing something really, really interesting with a classic character.
Yeah. I don't know. Hopefully he can pull it off.
So I'll move on to my number 19. This is a filmmaker I'm a little bit more familiar with, and just all of his movies ooze style. Just utterly are throwing up style all over the place. You can't look at a movie without immediately clocking it as a movie directed by Robert Eggers.
Oh.
Werwulf
Werewolf.
is my pick. So Robert Eggers is coming off of Nosferatu, which I quite liked in 2024, and he's just of this very gothic director. His movies really do ooze style, and this is about a werewolf. It stars Aaron Taylor-Johnson, Lily Rose Depp, Willem Dafoe, Ralph Ineson.
Yeah, his usual crew.
Yeah, and the thing with Robert Eggers is that he will not make a movie set in any year past, 1800. He is period piece, really old period pieces. And this is no different. This is set in 13th century England. And it is these villagers who are being attacked by a creature. We assume it's a werewolf, but the idea is, I think, less that it's it's alien with a werewolf, right?
Yeah.
Something's attacking us and we don't know what, and we have to find it. But it's more like a story, not of the werewolf, but a story of how the werewolf came to be. How we get the story of the werewolf. What is the original tale of the werewolf? And that's why the name is actually fairly stylized. Is Werwulf.
Yeah, because if you look at the title, that is not how you spell werewolf.
No, not at all. It's Werwulf. It's like that's weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is. It seems interesting, and Robert Eggers has so much style and makes interesting movies to watch. Makes good cinematic experiences just because of the magnanimity of these movies. They're big movies. They're really handsome, good-looking productions, and he makes them look even better. So Werwulf was kind of an obvious pick for me.
Yeah. I've only seen, I think I've seen a couple of his movies. No, yeah, I've seen most of his movies. I haven't seen Nosferatu.
Yeah, he did The Lighthouse, The Northman, The Witch, and Nosferatu.
Yeah. I know Nosferatu was his last one that came out in 24. The Witch I thought was fine for what it was. I hated The Lighthouse. I hated The Lighthouse. I hate that movie. I really liked The Northman, although it took me about 40 minutes or so to get used to what I was watching. Robert Eggers is a very interesting filmmaker. He's not one that's on my wavelength per se, but I love that he's so committed to doing period pieces. This one has caught my attention a little bit just because it's a werewolf story,
right,
and you're coming off of a more gothic vampire story from him. I'm curious about this one, I would say.
Yeah, I am also curious, and we don't know much, but we've seen behind the scenes photos. Aaron Taylor-Johnson looks great as Werewolf.
He does look great.
And yeah, I'm excited to see his take on this because, the werewolf is a really popular story, but it almost seems like it's going to be more like his take on it, which is really interesting. I don't know, we don't know much of the plot, and it's coming out late next year, but I'm really, really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
All right, I'll move on to number 18. Number 18, is that what I'm on?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I think
number
so, yeah.
18.
Or I guess the one that's after Werewolf.
Yeah, the one that's after Werewolf. So this movie, I heard about it very early on in the journey to making this list. I knew this was coming out the whole time. Doesn't mean I necessarily knew what it was. And it was as time went on and, they released a trailer that I got forced into seeing because it played in theaters, and I go to theaters. And initially, I was concerned that it showed too much, and this movie was kind of in limbo for even being on my list until I read the book it was based on. This is Project Hail Mary.
Hey, nice.
And yeah, so Project Hail Mary is about this science teacher who goes into space because the sun is dying. and he needs to figure out why. And I'm really trying to reconcile details from the trailer and from the book because I don't want to accidentally spoil things. But the idea is that he goes out into space and he's orbiting this star that isn't dying for some reason. And this is in the trailer, so I'm not considering it a spoiler. And given how much happens in the book, this doesn't feel like a spoiler.
Yeah.
Meets an alien. And we don't see the alien in the trailer as far as I really understand.
Not the first one. The second
Okay.
one. The second one is like glimpses of what it does look like. But,
Okay. I haven't seen the second trailer, only the first.
Yeah, because the second it's more of the alien per se. Which, seeing both trailers, I'm kind of shocked at some people that are so up in arms about it. I mean, if you read the cover of the book, it literally hints, "Oh, is he alone?"
Right.
I'm like, no shit. Of course he's not.
Well, so there's actually a reason I never read the covers of books.
Yeah.
I always save the back cover for last because they always reveal too much. And would I prefer to know that there wasn't an alien? I don't know. It happens 100 pages in. I would have gotten there on day 2 anyway. So it's kind of hard to be like, oh, they spoiled so much, because honestly, the first trailer doesn't show that much of what's actually in the book. And just having read the book and knowing, like, okay, more things happen. This is actually an interesting story. I was a little bit more on board with this movie. It's directed by Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, who are the dynamic duo behind the Jump Street movies and the first Lego movie.
Yeah.
And written by Drew Goddard, who is one of my favorite screenwriters. He wrote Cloverfield, I believe.
Yeah, he wrote. I think he wrote Cloverfield, Cabin in the Woods, The Martian.
The Martian,
Another
which is
Andy Weir book.
right. So Project Hail Mary is written by Andy Weir, who also wrote The Martian, a movie which I thought was fantastic.
I have not seen it yet.
And yeah, like, Project Hail Mary seems like it has a lot of potential. Stars Ryan Gosling, and they get oh god, who'd they get to play the other character?
Oh, it's Sandra Hüller.
Sandra Hüller.
Yeah, from Anatomy of a Fall.
Yeah.
Made her a big debut there.
Yeah, and she was also in Zone of Interest that same year.
Yeah. She's starting to be in more Hollywood films, it seems.
Yeah, and Project Hail Mary seems like it has potential to be good. I'm just a little worried at how they're going to adapt it. There's some little parts of the book, the way the alien speaks is particularly of note for me, of just like very, very high ceiling, very, very low floor. Things that work a little better in writing than they might in real life. And one of the big things with Andy Weir's books is that the main characters spend a lot of time thinking about calculations. And this is true in The Martian, and one of my least favorite parts of The Martian is that they feel the need to have the Matt Damon character sit in front of a video screen and describe his thought process.
Yeah.
Because that's the best way to get Andy Weir's writing onto the screen. And it's
Right.
like, just, okay, but like, show, maybe, right? It seems like this movie's doing a similar thing just from the trailers, which is a little disappointing to me. And yeah, it's just things like that that are like, how do you accurately adapt this kind of writing that's so inside the character's head? And I'm just a little worried that they won't get it right. But Andy Weir gave a seal of approval, and it's Drew Goddard who's already done it well enough before. So I'm willing to let this movie be my number 17 or number 18 or wherever the hell I'm at.
Yeah. I'm not going to go too specific to this one for certain reasons, but this is my favorite book of all time. And I'm a big fan of Lord and Miller as creative duos. Love 21-22 Jump Street, 2 of my favorite comedies. Lego Movie is my favorite animated movie. Enjoy the Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. They're heavily involved in the story work for the Spider-Verse movies, more so the second one, which I think is great. They're an interesting duo. Drew Goddard is a proven screenwriter. I trust almost anything he does. And this one, it's certainly been on my radar, but that's all I'll say about this one, at least for now.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good. I'm going to move on to my number 17, actually. I said 17 before. That was 18. This is 17. This is another animated movie. And, it is kind of a done premise, what this movie is. It's a very underdog kind of premise, but I'm really interested in the guy behind it. This is Goat.
Oh, I figured this one would be on your list.
Yeah, I'm interested in Goat because Goat, I mean, it's directed by Tyree Dillahay, who, as far as I understand, hasn't directed anything else. But what you probably really know this movie for is its producer, Steph Curry
Yeah.
of basketball fame.
Yeah, NBA superstar Steph Curry.
And this is a story of a this is the story of a goat, like the title, who goes on a journey to be the GOAT, the greatest of all time, at basketball, naturally.
Yeah.
I mean, this is Steph Curry producing this basketball story, and I don't know, it's kind of feels like it's well done, or like the premise is well worn, and like I shouldn't really be that into it, but I really, really am. I'm really, really interested in what this is. And yeah, that's kind of surprising for me. I feel like I don't typically do that. And this is also the second sports movie that I've had on these lists. Last year I had Him.
Yikes.
And what's actually fun is that this movie stole the title GOAT from Him.
Yeah.
Him was supposed to be called GOAT, and then this movie took that title, so they had to call it Him instead.
Yeah. This movie looks certainly interesting. I've seen bits and pieces of at least marketing that they've put. It stars Caleb McLaughlin of Stranger Things fame, played Lucas in that show, and David Harbour, also Stranger Things fame, who I talked about earlier with Violent Night 2. It also, I think Steph Curry's also in it. Has Aaron Pierre, Jelly Roll, I don't know who that is, some singer that people talk about. I mean, it looks interesting.
He's a rapper, yeah.
Yeah. This one certainly looks interesting. It's not one that I got super crazy about, just because I didn't really know the people who were, directing and writing the film.
Mm-hmm.
And it certainly looked like it was trying to capture the Spider-Verse feel. I feel like Sony got excited that Spider-Verse was a hit, so why not do another animated movie of similar like a similar vein. It looks good. It's not one I'm super looking forward. I'm super excited about, but I think it's a good pick. Definitely a good pick for your list. I would say.
And again, I'm always looking forward to animation, looking at what's coming out in animation, what I should be seeing from animation, especially if it's not coming from Disney or Pixar, who feel like they really corner the market on animation nowadays. And this feels like an interesting story from a lot of people who haven't really done something like this before. Tyree Dillahay, this is his debut. I'm not super familiar with the writers on this movie. I believe this is their first as well. So it's like, I'm interested. And I can't not be interested because, yeah, I hope it's really, really good. And it looks better than it has any right to be. And again, I love Spider-Verse. If they're going to do 1,000 more movies in that style, I'm fine with it, man. It looks so good.
Yeah. Animation-wise, it looks great.
Yeah. Yeah, all right, so moving on to my number 16. So this will be my last before I hand it off. This stars a particular actor who I wasn't sold on in this role until I watched a movie that he was in last year that really, really, really fit this role, because I wasn't sure he could do comedy. But this year, Liam Neeson's in Cold Storage.
I never would have guessed that this movie would have been anywhere close on your list. So I'm curious. Tell me why you or I guess tell me why you put it on your list.
Yeah. So I mean, first of all, Liam Neeson is hilarious in The Naked Gun.
Oh, he's great.
And this is another comedy. I'm not super familiar with the director. I know he directed an episode of the 2020 Dracula miniseries. But, this has Georgina Campbell and Joe Keery, and then obviously Liam Neeson. And it's written by David Koepp.
Oh, I had no idea this was written by David Koepp.
David Koepp, in case you don't know, was the writer on the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man. He was the writer on the first Mission Impossible movie. And he was a writer on the first Jurassic Park movie.
Yeah, probably what he's most known for.
So he has written some really, really good scripts. He's worked a lot with Steven Spielberg. He wrote the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. He wrote Jurassic Park, obviously. He wrote the second Jurassic Park as well. And he also wrote Spielberg's War of the Worlds. He works a lot with Steven Soderbergh. He wrote Presence and Black Bag for Soderbergh this past year. And so I'm interested to see what he's going to do with this material. And apparently it's based on his own story, like something he wrote originally, because he's credited as original writer as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that. Yeah, I know David Koepp to me is he's more so hit or miss. I mean, screenwriters take whatever jobs they can get, but when David Koepp hits, he hits pretty hard. And a lot of movies that he's written that I don't think are necessarily great, I don't necessarily think are the fault of him, save for You Should Have Left, which is a movie that I don't think is very good. But yeah, this one looked interesting. I've seen posters and stuff for it. You know, I love Liam Neeson, especially coming after The Naked Gun. I've always liked the guy as an actor. Joe Keery, I mean, he was great in Stranger Things. Recurring theme with your past two picks is a lot of Stranger Things actors.
A lot of Stranger Things.
Which is a show that I know you haven't seen.
Nope. Totally by accident.
Yeah. It looks... Yeah, I haven't seen any trailers for this. I think this is the first one you mentioned that I haven't seen at least something about.
I think a trailer did release, but I didn't see it. It's about this virus or this fungus that was kept in cold storage.
Hence the
title. But then it escapes. And it's about these people who are on like the night shift at this cold storage facility that need to stop it from spreading, because if it spreads, it kills every single person on the planet.
Yeah.
Very, very rife material for jokes.
Oh yeah, I would definitely say so. Yeah, I guess.
I'm really looking forward to it. And I wouldn't have pegged myself as someone who would have put that on my list either.
I wouldn't have, yeah, I guess I wouldn't have either,
but it's there.
Yeah. I guess, yeah, so another solid pick.
Yeah.
Really good picks all around. Yeah, I'm down to check this one out. I mean, as with any movie, for the most part.
What do you got from 20 to 16?
All right. I guess kind of get back to me.
Yes.
My number 20 is a movie that was supposed to come out last year, but got delayed to this year.
Okay.
I mentioned with The Bride how that worried me. With this one, I'm a little bit excited for it, but I can recognize some people who aren't so excited for it. It's adapting one of my favorite video games of all time, if not my favorite, Mortal Kombat 2. You thought I was going to say something else, didn't you?
No, I knew you were going to say Mortal Kombat
Mortal
2.
Kombat, yeah.
Because I know, Mortal Kombat 2. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah,
explain.
I was not a fan of the 2021 Mortal Kombat film, and so much of that is because it felt an awful lot like an unnecessary prequel to the movie that I actually wanted. Hence, you do a sequel to that. You have the movie that I wanted, and
I see. Okay.
You know, the first film had the lead. First of all, the lead character is a new character, which is stupid. This one, the lead character they established to be Johnny Cage, who's my favorite character in all of Mortal Kombat. I know it was people were up in arms about Carl Urban being cast as Johnny Cage. From what I've seen in the marketing, it looks like he's killing it. And overall, this movie, just from the marketing and even some things I've heard from like apparently like test screenings for it, this movie seems like the movie that I hoped the first one would be. That it kind of fixes some of the rough edges that the first one had. It kind of feels like I'm hoping that they listen to the critics of the first one and kind of course correct a little bit. Now, this one was supposed to come out last year. It got delayed to May of this year, which I feel like the reasoning for that because Final Destination Bloodlines was one of my surprising movies of last year. Came out around the same time, and not only was received really well, but also did really well. And also, it's essentially kicking off summer movie season, and I'm wondering if you take a movie like that a studio has faith in and putting it on a date that it has prime to do well. I don't know if there's a lot of competition around it, but it gives me hope that the studio has faith in this one. I'm hoping that this is the Mortal Kombat movie that actually delivers. Where I have guilty pleasure with the first, the 1991, but I was not a fan of the 2021 Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, I will say. So I don't have that much affinity necessarily for Mortal Kombat. I recognize that it's really cool and it has the potential to be really cool should be turned into a movie, right?
Yeah.
And I haven't seen any of the Mortal Kombat movies. I mean, the 2021 one was a reboot, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
of
it was a
an older
reboot.
series. But yeah, so this is a sequel to the reboot. What really worries me is the screenwriter, Jeremy Slater, has been shooting blanks for a while. We've got the Lazarus Effect in 2015, Adam Wingard's Death Note in 2017, Fantastic in 2015, Godzilla X Kong in 2024. He wrote a movie called Pet in 2016 that apparently wasn't very good. And yeah, like, I don't know. I'm a little worried that that's the guy that you get to write it. It seems like he kind of bounced around from like doing Adam Wingard movies. Now it seems like he's a little bit on the side of James Wan, who is a producer on this movie, because he's also Jeremy Slater is supposed to direct the Insidious spinoff.
Yeah.
So it's just like, this is not a guy with a great track record, and honestly, I don't know much about anybody else behind the camera of the movie. Like, I mean, I know the name Simon McQuoid, but the only other thing he's directed is the first Mortal Kombat, so still has time to grow. I'm just a little worried that this is who they're getting. But
I mean, fair point. Yeah, I guess like fair reservation for it. But I will say with him, screenwriters take whatever job you can get, and also with a lot of the movies that he did that weren't so well received, all but one he co-wrote with like 3 other people, and usually when you have too many cooks in the kitchen, it doesn't end up turning out very well. And it's just what I've been hearing about this movie from test screenings, from marketing. I'm hoping that I'm hoping that this is the movie that the first one was supposed to be, because when you play Mortal Kombat, the thing that stands out is the tournament, and the first one is training for the tournament, prepping for the tournament, who is selected for the tournament, credits roll. And naturally, you bring in Johnny Cage, and you center it around the tournament. And the fact that they pushed it to release in the summer season, which is prime, especially for box office.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that this one can deliver, but I'm not sure yet. But it's one that I have enough excitement for, enough. I'm a big Mortal Kombat fan that I'm hoping that this one can deliver, but I'm hoping it doesn't turn out terrible, because if it does, it'll be unfortunate, but I can kind of see why.
Fair. Your rationale is good. I'm not very excited for it, but I understand why you are.
Yeah, and I'm sure I'm one of a few people that are still excited for this one. I know a lot of people, it's like they delayed it, it kind of killed the hype. Fair, yeah, honestly, reasonable.
Well, I mean, they had the trailer in theaters, and now it's not in theaters anymore.
Yeah.
And it hasn't come out, and now they're going to put it in theaters again afterwards, and it's just going to... yeah, I agree that it killed the hype, but I get why you're excited for it still.
Yeah. Yes, moving on to my number 19, a more mainstream movie, or I guess a second mainstream movie that I'm sure most people will have much higher than me on my list, is a movie that I am excited for. Some of the things surrounding the series that it's in don't particularly excite me, but it's not really dwindling my excitement on this movie in particular, because I am a fan of the character, and I did enjoy the last one quite a bit, although I think it's overhyped. I have Spider-Man Brand New Day from director Destin Daniel Cretton.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I feel like my criticisms with the current state of Marvel aside, I feel like one of the things they've gotten consistent, save for Far From Home. I hate that movie so badly. I hate that movie. But with the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, I think now that they've done the origin, like the introduction to his character, and No Way Home kind of closes out with, he becomes a much more traditional Spider-Man as opposed to the the origin side of it. And bringing in a guy like Destin Daniel Cretton to direct this one, I think is interesting. John Watts is a guy that I feel like he's only good because Marvel tells him to be good. And I watched Wolves, and that guy does not have any talent, I would say.
Wow.
Sorry, that's harsh. He's a guy that I feel like the Spider-Man movies with his name attached to it. I feel like he's a good, like get the job done kind of person.
Not better than the screenplay you hand him, I suppose.
Yeah. And with Brand New Day, Daniel Craig is someone that I do think has talent. I have seen both movies that he's done, or at least the two that most people know. I know Shang-Chi, which I thought was pretty overrated when it came out, and has some things about it that kind of knock it back, but I don't blame him necessarily for that. It's more so a Marvel Studios mandate, it felt like. I did see Just Mercy, which was I was a pretty big fan of, with Michael B. Jordan. That came out right before the pandemic. And Tim Helming, Spider-Man Brand New Day, bring in someone like, I just feel like of all the Marvel movies that are coming out, this is the one that I'm most likely to watch. I'm a big Spider-Man fan. I have been since I was younger. Batman and Spider-Man are my two favorite superheroes of all time. So naturally, this is one that has my attention. Tom Holland, I think, has done great. And I think it's when, you throw John Bernthal in as the Punisher. I really like that cat. I really like John Bernthal as the Punisher. And kind of bring some other things in there as well. And the thing that I'm most looking forward to is actually seeing Tom Holland play a true version of Spider-Man, where he's swinging around New York City and doing his thing rather than going into space with aliens and going to Europe for some reason. And then, obviously, I'm sick of the multiverse stuff.
Well, he went to Europe on a school trip.
Yeah.
Duh.
Duh.
Yeah, fair. I just feel like Marvel's been grasping at straws for a while.
Yeah.
And to the point where it's like, they're like, John Bernthal's coming back as Predator, and
The Punisher. The Punisher.
John Bernthal's not coming back as a Predator. No, Dan Trachtenberg is not up to anything this year.
Yeah.
No, but like they're bringing back John Bernthal as Punisher, and then also Mark Ruffalo's in it as Hulk, and it's like, why? The MCU has become obsessed with like fitting in odd characters here and there. Like, ooh, what if we made the new Captain America movie continue like Thunderbolt Ross's story from the first Incredible Hulk? And I'm like, why? Why would you do that?
Yeah, it's like in that movie, you shouldn't call Captain America. You should call the Hulk. But
Yeah.
Disney doesn't have the rights to the Hulk, so you have to call somebody else.
So it's just like,
And yeah, and now that you mention that, that's the thing that holds it back. I mean, it's number 19 on my list.
right, yeah,
It's really since it's just like I'm excited to see where they take the character of Spider-Man, and I feel like hopefully the movie itself is detached from the whole Avengers Doomsday thing. But part of my fear, and I had this with Shang-Chi as well, which is also Cronin, and I have a fear that Marvel's or Kevin Feige is just mandating that they won't let Spider-Man stand on his own, which is frustrating. Homecoming had Tony Stark kind of serve as a mentor role. Far From Home had Nick Fury. No Way Home had to put Doctor Strange, because obviously you got to have the multiverse stuff in there somewhere in order to bring Tobey and Andrew back. And with this movie, I'm hoping they let him stand on his own a little bit. But I am a little bit disappointed that they keep having to put another character to basically prop them up, essentially.
Yeah.
And have them kind of on the side. But bringing in Daniel Craig, who I think does have a really unique style, I'm curious about this one. And from this point, like from 20 opera movies that I'm looking forward to watching.
Yeah. No, the thing is with the MCU for me, just no story can be a story of the hero anymore.
Yeah.
Spider-Man stories can't be Spider-Man stories anymore. The third Spider-Man movie has to have Doctor Strange in it. And it's like, why?
Yeah.
We can just do Spider-Man. It's not for lack of comics. There are so many comics. That's not the issue here. The issue is this multiverse that they're setting up, or that they try to set up, and this universe that they get continuously lost in.
Yeah.
That makes it not interesting.
Yeah. I do have enough excitement for it to make it this high on my list.
Fair.
But yeah, I've been kind of on a bad streak, I feel like, with some of the movies that I've put that are just like, I'm excited for them, but
Yeah. There's reservations there.
yeah, at least it feels that way. At least for the movies that I've mentioned earlier. This next one, I guess I'll jump into my number 18.
Okay.
For this one, this is a movie that this was the last movie I put on my list, actually.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. I was heavily debating on putting it on my list. I did watch the trailer for it, and I thought it looked quite good, to me. It comes out quite soon, I would say.
I
At
know
least in
what
terms
you've
of
done.
release. And it was really one that was drawn to me because of the screenwriter, and that's
Oh,
Psycho Killer.
Oh, I didn't expect this to be on your list.
What'd you think I was gonna say?
I'm not gonna say it because it might still be on your list.
Oh,
But okay, yeah, Psycho Killer.
yeah.
Explain.
Yeah, this movie it looks just really interesting to me, and maybe some of the reason for that is that it's written by Andrew Kevin Walker. He's the guy who wrote Seven. He wrote Sleepy Hollow, and he wrote David Fincher's The Killer, which all
I
very
don't
solid,
like that one.
all very solid movies. I know you're not a huge fan of The Killer, but I feel like he's someone that can handle that stuff well, and especially him returning to a genre, or at least like him returning to a genre, where I feel like his writing really excelled. I'm really interested in it. The trailer just gave enough creepy vibes for me to be interested. But, it's another one that, outside of Seven, he hasn't had that, like, super standout movie. I enjoyed The Killer, but my biggest gripe with it is that it was so straightforward. And, it was, to be fair, The Killer was an adaptation of a comic book of the same name, or a graphic novel, more so to say, from France. I believe it was France. And so there's a side to that, if you're following the graphic novel, inherently the story might be a little bit different. But I'm very curious about this one. It's not one that I'm like jumping in my seat to like, oh my god, I have to get here now. But it's one that I have enough curiosity about it, and these type of movies are always so fascinating that it made it on my list for that reason. And one that the more I thought about, I was like, I actually kind of want to watch this one. So this one made it on my. This was the last movie I put on my list.
Yeah, and it's directed by Gavin Polone, who this is his directorial debut, but he's a longtime producer of the Zombieland series.
Yeah, which
and
I love Zombieland.
Also, he's producing Cold Storage.
Yes, yeah.
Which also stars Georgina Campbell, who's also in this movie.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's worked with Andrew Kevin Walker before on 8mm. And yeah, I was interested in this also. Because of the screenwriter, because Andrew Kevin Walker was working on it. I wanted to see what he would do. And yeah, I didn't know there was a trailer released for this thing.
Yeah, released a while ago. But it's one that I feel like, sorry, I'm blanking on my thoughts. We've been talking for a little bit. It's one that, Andrew Kevin Walker is returning to a genre, where he really excelled with his writing. And I hope he can do it again with Psycho Killer. So I guess for that reason it made it on my list.
I had it on my list for a while, and I took it off because I kind of was getting mixed feelings about putting a movie on my list just because of the screenwriter. Because, screenwriters can be hit and miss. Sometimes screenwriters just take any job they can get. If this is just another one of those jobs that they can just get, I'm going to be a little less interested for it. But, I picked a movie because David Koepp was writing it, so I don't really have much of a leg to stand on there.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess, that is true. Moving on to my number 17, so two more left on this, at least this section before I hand it back to you, is a movie that came out of absolutely nowhere. And I mean absolutely nowhere. I saw a guy follow a post about how much he loved this movie because it screened last year, got unbelievably high praise. I don't know who the filmmakers were. I don't know who the writer director is. All I know is that it's produced by Blumhouse, which they have a shocky track record. Premiered at TIFF, I believe. And it was received really well. It's a movie called Obsession.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And basically the premise is a music store employee and hopeless romantic named Bear use a supernatural novelty toy called the One Wish Willow to wish for his longtime crush and childhood friend Nikki to fall in love with him. However, the wish is granted with unexpectedly dark consequences for both of them. Which the premise itself doesn't sound terribly exciting, but the reception this movie got was so high. People were saying that this movie was really solid. I couldn't help but just be excited to check out whatever this was because it looks really interesting. There was a trailer that released for it, which I did watch, and I think this movie looks really good. So yeah, I'm very excited to check this one out.
Yeah. I saw a teaser for this one looked really good. It didn't show enough, or it didn't show a lot. It showed just enough. And yeah, no, this is a good pick. This is a really, really interesting movie from the looks of it. Yeah, no, it's directed by a man named Curry Barker,
Yeah,
who I'm unfamiliar with.
I have no idea who he is, but seems like this will be the movie that makes me go, oh, next time that guy does something, I'll be checking that one out. But I'm not gonna speak too soon. Maybe the movie is a little, maybe it won't be, maybe it'll be polarizing, but it comes out. But from what I've heard, what I've seen, the premise, I think this movie looks fantastic. And from here on out on the list, these are all movies that I'm very excited to check out. The ones below were kind of like, I'm excited, but like from 17 and up on my list. I know weird point to start with, but these are all movies that I'm like, I'm seeing this movie when it comes out. Like,
Yeah.
like absolutely like non-negotiable.
Yeah, that's fair.
So,
yeah, Obsession seems interesting. So, what's your 16?
my number 16, another kind of controversial one, or at least controversial in the sense of me and where I put things. It's a movie that we already talked about,
Oh,
and is one that I think you're going to be surprised with where I place this one.
it's The Bride again.
Yeah, it just jumped up for randomly, even though it's at 25, so meaning I have 24 most anticipated movies. My number 16, a little controversial, Supergirl.
Whoa, what?
Supergirl is my number 16, and it never went up or down. It was always it was always here.
Whoa, I was certain this was top 5.
No, this and another one we'll get to, or actually, no, I won't say that. But yeah, this movie never entered my top 10, and it's a movie that I am very excited to check out. I love the world of DC. I really responded well to James Gunn's Superman. However, something I was not too responsive of was the finale of Peacemaker Season 2, which I was not a
Okay.
fan of, and the more I've sat on it, I think it's a horrible finale, and one that some of the stuff they tease has me a little bit worried for the future of DC, at least the DCU that James Gunn is building. And I kind of see, at least, and with Supergirl, I really enjoyed Millie Alcock, at least a little bit that we got from her at the end of Superman. And it's one that, at first glance, drunk party girl in space wasn't something that I was super interested in. We got the trailer. It looked pretty fun. Huge fan of the casting of Jason Momoa as Lobo. And then there is test screening results for this movie, and apparently it's solid. It's a solid comic book movie, but it's one that like some of the complaints with it I kind of expected.
Mhm.
But I'm still really excited for this movie. My excitement for comic book movies in general has just kind of gone down over the years, and yeah, just with Peacemaker Season 2 especially, my hype for DC has just kind of gone down, especially considered how much I liked Superman.
Mhm.
And it's one that, James Gunn missed for me, which this is his second time doing so, at least with comic book movies.
What else did you not like?
Guardians 2.
Oh, really?
I'm not a huge
Okay.
fan of Guardians 2. Which is unfortunate, and I feel like I have more of my reservations with the DCU are becoming more prevalent, but that's not a nick to say on this one in particular. The director, I have seen I, Tonya. I really like it. I wasn't a huge fan of Cruella, but I feel like his style, or like at least the style of that movie, I think really popped and stood out. And I feel like of the Disney live action remakes, adaptations, if you want to call it, I think Cruella's one that stands out for its style. So I'm very excited to check out Supergirl, but I feel like the main selling points are Millie Alcock and especially Jason Momoa as Lobo for me.
All right. I expected that a lot higher, so I am thoroughly surprised.
Yeah. So I will end my 20 to 16. I guess we'll move on to passing on to you for the last section of part 1 from 15 to 11, and then we'll bring Logan on for our top 10.
All right. My number 15 is a movie I initially had very, very, very high because of the director. Let's be honest here. It's because of the director. And then the trailer came out, and I was like, I really, really, really want to trust this director, but this trailer looks bad. But the director's good enough that I'm willing to let it ride, and I'm still willing to put this so high. This is Steven Spielberg's Disclosure Day.
Oh. Nice.
So, Disclosure Day, they were being very secretive about it for a very long time. No one really knew what it was called until pretty recently. They put up a billboard in Times Square without people knowing what it was called.
Yeah.
It just said all will be disclosed. There was a fun alien on it.
Yeah, even the title was kind of kept secret.
Yeah, it was called Untitled Steven Spielberg Event UFO whatever film for a while. And they released the trailer. It was called Disclosure Day, and it's about this guy. It's seemingly about this guy played by Josh O'Connor. I don't love Josh O'Connor. Trying to bring the news that aliens exist to the public. There's Emily Blunt in it, who seems to play some weather person who has this weird alienish kind of breakdown on live TV. There's some interesting stuff in here that could really be good. And look, Steven Spielberg and sci-fi are wonderful. Close Encounters of the Third Kind makes my top 5 favorite movies of all time.
Yeah, and that's a movie you like more than me.
Yeah, I love Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And Steven Spielberg returning to sci-fi is really, really interesting. Like, the last one he made was Ready Player One, and before that, War of the Worlds. In the 21st century, he's made 2 sci-fi movies.
Yeah, but at least like turning to like a sort of like alien invasion kind of thing.
Right, it's a pretty classic sci-fi, a very much more similar to.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Return to classic sci-fi.
Yeah, a much more similar premise to something like War of the Worlds or Close Encounters than to something like Ready Player One, which I know people didn't love.
Yeah, I've seen it. I didn't think it was great.
But yeah, Disclosure Day is a lot of borrowed trust. It is a lot of, I want this movie to be good. I want Steven Spielberg to do good. And I think Steven Spielberg is good enough to make it work, but what I've seen of the movie is questionable at points.
Interesting.
So I am a little bit worried, and I'm a little bit worried for every movie I put on this list because that's just how I work.
Yeah.
There's no movie that I can be excited for without reservation because there's always the thing that says, what if it's bad? It could be bad. I don't know, but
yeah, I at least for me, I try not to have that mentality because
Yeah.
I wouldn't make a most anticipated list if I thought everything was gonna suck. But
I hope
or
it
at
doesn't
least-
suck, and
yeah.
I hope that Steven Spielberg is good, and I'm excited to see it because even if it is bad, it is Steven Spielberg sci-fi, and I think that puts it a leg above some of the other stuff that's below it.
Yeah.
Just Steven Spielberg. In terms of pure achievement, I would put him at the best director of all time.
Yeah, he's
Not my favorite, but he's probably the best.
Yeah.
Just pure achievement wise.
I would agree. Yeah.
All right, I'll move on to my number 14. My number 14 is one that we have already talked about, you've already discussed, and I think it is a solid contender already for the most fun movie of the year. It's The Sheep Detectives.
Hey. I had this one on my list as well. I was
Yeah.
not expecting it to make your list,
Nah,
especially not up here.
Seems like a really fun time. This used to be in my top 10. And yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to this movie. I did see the trailer. This was one that my grandmother had me watch, and it struck me in some sort of way and I had kind of faith in this movie since it was announced. I thought it was an interesting premise. I thought it was this, that, and the other. And now I see the trailer, and I'm like, I really actually do think that they could pull this off.
Yeah, I know. I'm not gonna go too much into it because I talked about this one already. But I don't. The trailer looked like it balanced the silly and the kind of like having a cool original story around it.
Yeah. Yeah, but we already talked about that one, so I'm gonna move on relatively quickly here. My number 13. This is a movie that when you hear it, you're gonna immediately say, "Knew it." Because there's this one guy who manages to weasel his way into all of my most anticipated lists that you do not care for.
Oh, I think
This
I know
is
what
Ari Aster produced The Drama, directed by Christopher Borgli.
Oh no.
It stars Robert Pattinson and Zendaya as a newly married couple who, I guess, weird things start to happen with them. They're being very secretive about it in the trailers, which I like. It suggests that they have something good. This is an A24 movie, and just seeing what we've seen of the movie, it's going to be weird, and it's going to be cool. I'm really excited for this one.
Yeah. First of all, called it. I know you said that earlier, but I assumed this was going to be on your list, and I I don't remember. Did I tell you if it was in? I don't think I said it was in your top 10, but I said it was on your list.
Said it was somewhere there, and you're right. It was somewhere there. And this has been on my radar forever because I love Robert Pattinson. And honestly,
he's an incredible actor. Yeah.
I moved it up after seeing the trailer, and also after seeing his performance in Die My Love, which seems like it has a similar premise, all things considered. And all I could think of while watching Die My Love was like, wow, I really hope the drama is better than this.
Yeah. I've actually, so if the director of this movie did another movie that I saw that I actually responded fairly well to. It's not one that I thought was great, but one I thought was interesting. Dream Scenario with Nicolas Cage.
Oh, yeah.
It had such a unique concept about, like Nicolas Cage plays this, I think he's like just a normal family man. And a lot of people keep having dreams of him and like have him like just out of context and out of nowhere. And it was really interesting. I don't think it fully delivered on the premise that I thought was super interesting, but it's one that I thought was fascinating nonetheless. And I didn't know that that same director was doing the drama until the first trailer came out and I saw his name. Ari Aster's producing. I'm not a big Ari Aster guy, but he's not writing and directing this one, so it's not one that I'm gonna hold back on because of that. Yeah, I'm curious about this one. Love Robert Pattinson. Huge fan of Zendaya. The marketing for this has already been pretty crazy.
Yeah, they took out an ad in the Chicago Times for like a invitation to the wedding of these two characters. They're named Emma and Charlie, which is I don't know, it's just interesting. Like I love it when they do these weird kind of odd things like that.
Yeah.
Odd marketing tactics is what I intended to say. There we go. Yeah, I'm very, very interested in it, and I'm excited to see it when it comes out.
Yeah, it certainly looks interesting. I mean, that seems to be the common theme here, save for a couple on my list, I feel like. But I'd say majority of movies we've talked about so far are ones that there's some interest there. I mean, I can name some on my list that maybe not so much, but
right.
Yeah, I'm curious to check this one out. It's not one that seems like it's going to be on my wavelength. Especially given the producers behind it, and given that I didn't love Dream Scenario,
right.
But I don't know. We'll see. Maybe this will be the one that I think he fully delivers on.
So moving on to my number 12, this is one that I honestly don't know if you expect it to be on my list in any capacity, but I was kind of hearing about it, and it seemed interesting the way they were talking about it, and then I actually saw what it was based on, and I was really interested in it because I like that story, and I really like the story of Clayface.
Oh, this one is way higher than I thought you were gonna have it.
So yeah, this is the new Clayface movie from the DCU, directed by James Watkins, who directed Speak No Evil a couple years back.
More specifically, the remake of Speak No Evil with James McAvoy.
Yes, and it's also written by Mike Flanagan.
Yeah, love that guy. Huge Mike Flanagan fan.
Yeah, so they're based. This story is based on the Feet of Clay episodes in Batman the Animated Series, which I recently saw and I recently liked. They go through this actor who gets in this really bad accident, and his face is like burned, and he's no longer getting the good roles, which is unfortunate but kind of accurate. And he finds this like facial cream that lets him mold his face into any way that he wants. So he molds it into his face, and then when he's going into a role that requires a different face, he can mold it into that face. And eventually he gets he gets in trouble with the mob front that's selling him this cream, and they drop him in a whole vat of the cream.
Yeah.
And then his whole body becomes like that. And for some reason, the form he decides to stay in is this weird goopy monster.
Yeah, Clayface.
Which, look up Clayface if you don't already know what he looks like. It's pretty great. So, yeah, and just the people that they got behind it are really good. It feels like a movie that I really loved in 2024 called The Substance.
Yeah.
Similar premise.
At least when I first saw The Substance, my first mind went to Clayface. And everyone was like, "Oh, it's so." I was like, "It reminded me of a lot of Clayface, like that story." And I said that to you. And then when you sat down to watch Batman the Animated Series, I I remember bringing that one up. I mean, Substance is a fantastic movie, and the parallels, but I would say that The Substance has so much more to offer. I feel like, at least in terms of its story.
I would agree with that. The Substance is a fantastic movie. Not one that's suitable to eat while watching.
Please do not eat when you're watching The Substance.
Horribly gross, but it's really good. So definitely recommend that. And Clayface feels like it is a similar story. And you know what? The Substance is really interesting in a lot of different ways. The Substance is really interesting. So I'm not mad that they're doing a similar story. And the way that they talk about the movie, they really want to separate it from the DCU at large.
Yeah, but it's set in the...
It's set in the DCU.
Yeah, it's set in the DCU.
But it seems like they're trying to separate it tonally, at least, from the rest of the DCU in terms of subject matter, in terms of horror. This is a straight horror movie, as it's been described. And yeah, I mean, the story behind it, they weren't initially doing a Clayface movie until Mike Flanagan wrote the script, and it was so good they put it into production as the third movie in the DCU.
Yeah.
Which is not normal. Normally, you're going to want to plan out at least that first phase.
Yeah.
By the time you started. But no, I guess Clayface just kind of ran in. And that was actually initially one of the many reasons why I wasn't excited for Superman.
Yeah.
It didn't feel thought out. But this movie, at least on its own, and with its somewhat disconnectedness from the rest of the universe, I'm really, really, really excited for it.
Yeah. Great pick. Especially, I mean, as a DC fan, I'll have more to say, I'm sure. But I won't speak too much on that one.
All right. Next is my number 11. Now, one franchise will almost always, without fail, sneak into this list. If a movie from this franchise is coming out, it's probably going to end up on a most anticipated list somewhere, because I really, really like the stories laid out by the Universal monsters, which is why my number 11 is the new adaptation of The Mummy from filmmaker Lee Cronin.
Interesting. I have some thoughts on this one, but go ahead.
So Lee Cronin, not a filmmaker I'm always super knowledgeable on. I've watched his first movie, The Hole in the Ground, and while the script I didn't think was so great, he's got style. He knows where to point a camera, and he knows why he's pointing a camera at things. The Mummy could really use a good horror reimagining. If you actually watch the original Mummy, the Boris Karloff Mummy, it's basically the same story as Dracula, but just told from a mummy, and It's a great horror movie. It's scary at parts. The Mummy could use that because it really was, in 1999, just completely rebranded as an action movie.
Yeah.
The Mummy has been an action franchise for 27 years. And that changes now. And Lee Cronin, I haven't seen Evil Dead Rise. I've heard good things. I haven't seen it. But yeah, I am really excited that they're doing this.
Yeah, I have very negative thoughts about this movie.
Really?
Very. So this is not a Universal monster movie. This is not produced by Universal.
Well, sure, but a lot of neither was the Invisible Man.
Yeah.
So that was fantastic. It's. Well, it was produced by Blumhouse. Okay.
Yeah, it was distributed by Universal. Yeah,
distributed by Universal.
Right.
I mean, the point is that these are public domain characters. Frankenstein, for example. Universal Monster, not distributed by Universal, distributed by Netflix this year. But The Invisible Man is public domain. The Mummy was never actually based on anything, so it's public domain.
Yeah.
You can't use the Boris Karloff version of The Mummy, but you can just do a movie about a mummy. That's not copyright infringement.
Yeah. So, yeah, and getting back to what I said, there was a point in time where I was really excited for this one. This movie, out of anything, plummeted to my bottom 10 least anticipated of the year. I have heard terrible things about this movie circulating its production. And even if you look up Lee Cronin's The Mummy, a lot of what you'll find will say Lee Cronin's The Resurrected. Mm-hmm. And some of the reason why it's being retitled The Resurrected is because apparently Warner Brothers and New Line were not happy with the cut that Lee Cronin gave. and apparently it's not very Mummy-esque, and that it's something totally off. And that's really disappointing because I really like Lee Cronin as a filmmaker. And I really liked Evil Dead Rise. Not my favorite of the franchise, but I really like Evil Dead Rise. But this is one that I've only heard negative things about. There's been zero marketing. This movie's months away. And I've just, the closer to the release date, it's been falling and falling and falling to where I'm not excited for it anymore.
I really haven't heard anything like that about this movie. And yeah, I mean, the switch from The Mummy to The Resurrected is strange. Not going to deny that.
Yeah.
I haven't heard the rationale behind it. The idea that New Line was unhappy is not so surprising in the sense that studios often are. But I'm still fairly excited for this.
Yeah. Fair.
I haven't heard anything bad about it. I know that there was a false rumor that it had test screened and people didn't like it, but I didn't find any source on that actually other than one Instagram post, and Instagram's not where I get my film news.
Yeah.
So, like, you know, part of it's like, yeah, sure, maybe it's getting this bad press. It's not so good. I don't see any of that, and I still have a lot of faith in this movie that at least Lee Cronin will have some style to it in the way that he's doing it. And The Mummy, or I guess The Resurrected now, The Mummy is a fascinating character that could be explored a lot more.
Yeah. I guess we'll see, but as of right now, my excitement's just gone for it. Granted, some of where I'm pulling from may not be the best, but it's not just one person, and the fact that there's been no marketing on it since, like no rumblings about it kind of worries me, and even the fact that they are changing the title to drop The Mummy is a little concerning, but I guess we'll see. Lee Cronin's proven himself to me once, but one that's my excitement for it's not there anymore.
That's too bad. Well, that actually wraps up my portion of the list for this episode. Hand it off to you.
All right. My 15 to 11 before we wrap up part 1 and bring Logan back for our top 10. My number 15 is one that is another controversial one I have, given where I'm placing it, and is one that we just talked about, is Clayface.
Oh, okay.
It actually broke a record for me. This is the first time ever that a comic book movie has not entered my top 10 most anticipated of the year.
For the entire year, wow.
And what's even surprising to me is that you have Clayface higher than I do.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is because at surface value, you got James Gunn, Peter Safran, and Matt Reeves producing this one, set in the DCU, which is exciting in and of itself. I think Mike Flanagan is one of the great visionaries working today. The fact that he wrote the script is amazing. That the fact that he was able to do something like that. James Watkins, Speak No Evil, is apparently really good. All that being said, everything I just listed is borrowed trust. And the fact that kind of goes back to what I said about Supergirl, I'm a little bit worried for how the DC will play out. Why is Clayface not only the third movie, but why are we getting a Clayface movie before a Batman story, before any other DC character, is baffling to me. Whether the script is good or not, it's just a baffling decision. And it's one that I'm only really sold on it based on what other people have done previously and good story that they're pulling from. Maybe I'm still excited. I mean, we're 15 in a list of 25. I'm very excited. I am very excited for this movie. I love DC, and I'm very excited for this one, as well as Supergirl, which was the last movie I talked about. However, I'm not going to lie if I'm saying that I'm a little bit worried about how this one fits into, because in the initial plan, it was nowhere to be found. And the fact that, having the villain be the main character of a movie is always one that I'm not so sure about. So it's one that I have my skepticisms for, but I feel like the talent that they got both in front of and behind the camera is one that sells it enough for me to at least make it on.
Yeah, fair. I guess I am probably more excited for this.
Yeah,
which I didn't anticipate at all.
I didn't either. But especially, I never thought you would have this one or any comic book movie higher than me. But it in a sense kind of breaks a sad record. That's the first time that a comic book movie is not in my top 10.
That is surprising, given that this is one of the first times that 2 comic book movies have ever entered my list.
Yeah.
After 2020, I stopped really being excited for these things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I mean, I understand, especially with the current phases of Marvel, and I know DC's hopefully trying to get his foot back in the door.
Right.
But yeah, I guess we talked about that one a little bit, so I'll move on to my number 14. The fact that I have this one above Clayface is kind of shocking to me, but it's one that I am fully aware that this movie is going to be terrible. Or I'm sure this one won't be well received by critics, but it's one that I am very excited for nonetheless, and that's Scary Movie 6.
Ah.
Yeah. Little known fact about me, I'm actually a big fan of the first 2 Scary Movies. You know, the Wayans brothers, I feel like it's basically a full-on parody of horror movies of the time. The first film pokes fun at Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer, like the Kevin Williamson era of slashers. The second one pokes fun at like possession, exorcism stuff, with The Exorcist and Poltergeist being the 2 that it pokes fun at. They're not great cinema. If you watch them and be like, this sucks, I get it. But there's a bunch of people that I feel like there's a lot of jokes in those movies that I feel like are clever. And especially nowadays when we've gotten so many different types of horror films, like, you know, Jordan Peele, and you got a movie like Sinners, and you got stuff like Longlegs that come out. And it's just like the fact that the Wayans brothers are back. If you don't know the story behind this movie, after the first 2, disgraced Hollywood producer Harvey Weinstein took the franchise away from them, as he was very notorious for doing to other filmmakers. It's now back in the hands of the Wayans, who they're funny people. And just them talking about the movies that they were going to parody sounds really interesting to me. And I feel like in a state now where horror is just really expanded, I'm curious to see how they do it. I'm not expecting this to be high art. You know, if it's poorly received, I get it. But it's one that I'm very excited to watch it with my friends. I'm very excited to watch this with my brother. I'm hoping it'll be at least a good laugh, because I feel like the first 2 do a good job at that. But again, this is, I'm not expecting this to be like best of the year or great cinema. I'm expecting hopefully a good time.
So I've always been a little sour on the Scary Movie franchise just because of the way it seemingly irreparably screwed the comedy genre for a very long time. I mean, the line between scary movie and something like epic movie or disaster movie is not long, and it's very straight. And I just, like, I don't know. I it's a reason I never got into the series, because we went from these well thought out comedies, these like, you're going from things like Zaz, right?
Yeah.
Where Zaz was the popular comedy, to these just movies that are crass for the sake of being crass, and they think that it's funny to parody a genre just by putting penises in it. And it's like, that's not quite what makes movies funny, but, you know, it's just, and it's really hard for me, because I know that Scary Movie, I could probably point to it as the progenitor of this trend for being so crass in and of itself. I mean, you can't blame it for the fact that other movies would go on and mimic that, but just, it's one of those things where I dislike the trend so much that I've been so soured on the originator of it, no matter how good that originator might be.
Yeah, that's a fair criticism. You know, they're movies that, you know, critically they're not the most well received, but, you know, for people like me, or for people who especially are fans of the first 2, a lot of the returning cast is coming back. The Wayans brothers doing this one certainly has gives me a slight inkling of hope. I'm just hoping for a good time. And I especially think that the horror movies that Marlon Wayans at least said that he was poking fun at, the biggest one, Jordan Peele, I'm really excited to see that one. More so Get Out and Nope, were ones that he said he was going to poke fun at. And there's a whole list online, you can search it up. But I don't know. This is one that I'm more excited to watch,
Right.
more than anything. But I could totally understand people who are not excited for this one. But it's definitely for a very specific crowd. Maybe I fall into that.
Right.
But I don't know. I'm well aware it could just rely on, you know, sex jokes, but I'm hoping that it has more to offer because I feel like there's a lot of things in the first two that I feel like people don't talk about. But it did kind of pave the way for some bad comedies, and one that parody movies are kind of entering sort of a resurgence. We had The Naked Gun last year. We have this one, and then Spaceballs 2 the next year.
Yeah, there's also late last year, Fackham Hall released.
Yeah.
Which was in a similar vein. So yeah, a little bit of a resurgence, I'd say.
Yeah. I guess we'll see. Maybe I'm reading the room too much on that one, but I guess time will tell. If it ends up in anyone's bottom 10, I won't be surprised. I feel like I've said that a few times, which is kind of making me scared of some of the movies I've said. But I don't know. I'm looking forward to it, at least on some level. 13. I guess moving on to 13, in the total opposite direction of Scary Movie 6, and I feel like this is as far opposite as you can get. We have an original horror film from a director who I've heard a lot about, but I haven't seen the movie that people have been talking about that came out of nowhere around a year and a half ago now, in 24. And this is one that was absolutely not on my list. I didn't hear a rumbling about it, and then I saw a teaser for it, and that's a movie called Hokum, I think is what it's called. Hokum.
Oh, Hokum.
Hokum. This is from the filmmaker who did Oddity from 2024, which people said was really good. I haven't seen it.
Damien McCarthy is his name,
Damien McCarthy. Yeah, kind of like your, I forgot the movie that you said earlier where you haven't seen the guy's first movie. Boots something.
Boots Riley.
Boots Riley, yeah, his new film. It's kind of the same thing. Like, this movie looks really interesting. The teaser had such an eerie and creepy vibe. And, throwing Adam Scott in there as the lead protagonist, I like him a lot. I haven't seen Severance, but apparently he's really good in Severance. This is just one that I'm hoping the trailers didn't just sell it as creepy movie, because Longlegs did that. And as much as I like Longlegs, if you watch the trailers and you watch the movie, they're not too similar. And it's one that the trailers for Longlegs market as really scary. The movie is really not scary. I'm hoping this one will be different. People say a lot of really good things about Oddity, and the teaser just gave just enough vibes that I'm really looking forward to this one.
I never expected this would be on your list, honestly.
Yeah, did you hear about this one?
I did hear about Hokum relatively late in the cycle for when I was researching for these things.
Yeah.
And yeah, the thing with Hokum is it's a Cabin in the Woods movie. Nothing that we haven't seen. That being said, you could do 1,000 Cabin in the Woods movie and still probably come up with something unique to do with them by the 1,000th time. And we have 1,000 Cabin in the Woods movies,
Yeah.
And we're coming up with interesting ways to do them. And Cabin in the Woods, the reason it lasts so long is that it's not a bad setup. So it's not that I don't have faith in this movie, but yeah, it's not a movie that's concept will propel it into the top 10. So
yeah,
but a good pick, honestly.
Yeah. I guess I forgive myself for some other ones that were on here. I mean, even kind of, I think it's hilarious that it's right next to Scary Movie 6, a movie that, it's a movie that watching it with your friends is so fun. A lot of the humor in that movie lands pretty well, but it's one that, in the total opposite direction, you have Hokum, this really dark, creepy-esque movie. And from a guy who, a point in time, directed a movie that was in the top 20 scariest of all time, according to Science, which just got knocked out because Smile 2 jumped up a little bit. But I'm very curious about this one. I think the trailer gave off just enough vibes. Hoping it doesn't become, the trailer was so scary the movie isn't. But I guess time will tell with that one.
Yeah, good pick.
Yeah. My number 12 is a movie that has been on my radar for years now. And I could say years, plural, very confidently, because I remember when this movie was announced. I remember when it went into production. Tragedy struck with this one by the studio, and is one that has really skyrocketed my list ever since there was a date put on it, but one that I've kind of looked back on and dropped a little bit lower on my list, but one that I'm very excited for nonetheless, and one that I want to support as much as I can, and that's Coyote versus Acme.
Oh, good pick.
Yeah. This is the shelved Warner Brothers Looney Tunes film that Ketchup Entertainment acquired last year and was given a release date of August of this year, which is super exciting and really shows that people do care about movies like this, and as someone who's a big fan of the Looney Tunes, that made me really, I guess, really happy. The story for this one was actually developed from James Gunn. And I know you mentioned the guy who wrote Mortal Kombat 2, but that guy also was behind the story for this one as well.
Wow, okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I found that out recently. Yeah, the story's from James Gunn, Jeremy Slater, and a guy named Sammy Birch. And it's based off of a book of the same name called Coyote versus Acme. And the main screenplay is written by Sammy Birch, who is most known for writing May December, movie I haven't seen, but is a strange kind of comparison to a movie like that.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's directed by Dave Green, who is most known for Earth to Echo and TMNT Out of the Shadows, which are not great movies. So inherently, apparently screenings for this one said it was really, really good. And when Warner Brothers shelved it and sold it to Ketchup Entertainment, I initially was really excited because people were like, oh, apparently it's supposedly really good. And the idea of Wile E. Coyote suing the Acme Corporation because the explosives keep blowing up in his face when he's trying to catch the Roadrunner is such a cool idea.
Yeah, that's I don't know how they came up. I mean, that's really, really a good concept.
Yeah, both. I haven't read the book, but in the movie, you got I forgot the guy's name. Will Forte, John Cena. From the stills that have been released, it looks like a really fun time.
Yeah.
Why I knocked it back a little bit is more so I was thinking about it a little bit more, that there hasn't been a whole lot of hype for it. I mean, there was a Comic-Con panel last year, which was months ago at this point, and is one that, sure, initial test reactions were really good, but the fact that, when Warner Brothers shelved it and sold it to other studios, every single big studio said no.
Well, I think that's a little less... it's a little more complicated than that, because historically, Warner Brothers and other studios, especially big streamers, have been really weird about which IP content they pick up because of something called brand confusion. If someone sees a Looney Tunes movie on Netflix and then they see no other Looney Tunes movies on Netflix...
Well, that aged well.
What?
Warner Brothers buying Netflix.
Oh, well, sure, but other way around also.
Yeah.
But if they
or excuse me, Netflix buying Warner Brothers.
If they see a Looney Tunes movie on Netflix and then they see no other Looney Tunes movies on Netflix, they're going to be a little bit confused, at least in the eyes of the streamer, and a little bit angry at Netflix for the perceived notion that they're hiding Looney Tunes from them, with the reality that they just don't own Looney Tunes. They only own that one film. I think that's why a lot of studios passed up on it. I don't feel like it's necessarily because it was bad. They also shelved it for a tax write-off.
Yeah, that's true.
They didn't shelve it for any really perceived quality issues. And by the way, this is something that Warner Brothers did quite often at that era. They deleted Batgirl.
Yeah,
for the same reason.
That's just horrible. In my mind, that's just horrible. I mean, I know that apparently the movie was really bad, but still, don't delete the movie.
Yeah, it deserves to be out there still.
Yeah.
So,
But yeah, and this is also one that Ketchup Entertainment's not a big studio yet. I don't know how much they didn't market the last Looney Tunes movie they got from Warner Brothers, which was The Day the Earth Blew Up, and how they're gonna handle marketing this one, I really hope they can pull it off, because from their previous track records, they can't, at least in my mind. I'm hoping they don't mess it up, and I'm hoping that people go see this one in theaters. But at this point in time in the list, all these movies I cannot wait to go see. From 12 and up, these are all movies that I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be there day one. I'm gonna be there when it comes out. Some of the ones 13 and below are movies that I'm excited for, and then I have butts. But from here on out are movies that I'm just not those kind of butts. Not bare naked ass. For the movies I get excited for. But yeah, at this point in time in the list, these are all movies that 12 on a list like this is more so to say how much more excited I am for the movies above it than necessarily how not interested I am in this one, which is not true. I love the Looney Tunes. On certain face value, the team behind it isn't the most promising, but everything that I've heard and the premise and everything, I can't wait for this one.
Yeah.
I hope it delivers.
Me too.
Yeah. And last one before we close out part one is a movie that for a little bit was in my top 10. I probably should have put it in my top 10 now that I think about it. But I'm going to keep it at number 11. And it's one that actually got its release date moved because of positive reception, which is actually really nice.
I know what you did.
Ready or Not 2.
Hey.
Here I come. Why that movie kept the 2 is beyond me. But I really loved the original Ready or Not.
It's Radio Silence, right?
Yeah, Radio Silence. The guys that went on to do Scream 5 and 6, which I have more mixed feelings on those two, and then Abigail, which I haven't seen, but seems like I've heard very good things about Abigail. And so them doing a sequel to Ready or Not was one that I wasn't expecting. I did see the trailer for this one. It looked like it captured the same vibe as the first one. And the thing that really solidified this one shooting up a little bit further is that, it tested really well to the point where the studio actually considered, moving it up a month for people to go watch it, which is always really exciting. Samara Weaving's returning. Catherine Newton is joining the cast this time around. And the original Ready or Not kind of came out of nowhere. I watched it a little after it came out. It's one that my brother really loves. And I'm down for a second one. It's one that I'm really excited for, but I don't have too much specifics on why I'm excited for it. But it's one that I will be there to check it out nonetheless.
Yeah, I feel kind of bad because I really have nothing to say about this because I haven't seen the first one. I don't even know what it's about. I just know Radio Silence. I know that they are directors. I haven't seen anything that they've directed. I'm like a day out from seeing Scream 5, I guess. But
yeah,
this is a movie that I knew of, but was never interested in just because I hold nothing for the original.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that, I'll get to see it now because now I'll see the first one. But
yeah,
I'm glad you're interested in it. It seems interesting.
Yeah, I'm excited to check this one out. And I guess with that being said, I guess that closes out part 1 of our most anticipated.
That was part 1. Surprisingly little overlap in that part, honestly.
Yeah, especially for me. There was you having Clayface above me was not something I was on my bingo card.
Yeah, so we will. So by the time you're watching this, our part 2 of this episode will come out tomorrow. If you're watching this on release, if you're watching it a little bit after release, part 2 is probably already out. That will be my top 10, Max's top 10, Logan's top 10. And we will discuss all those at the requisite time. With all that being said, leave a comment if you have anything to say about anything that we said or anything to say about things that we didn't say. And we'll get back to you on those. We'll address them on another episode, probably an episode of the Weekly Spoiler Review, which the Weekly Spoiler Review episodes for this year will be covering a lot of the movies that were covered in this list.
Yeah.
So let's jump into Letterboxd plugs. I am Threnv on Letterboxd. That is THRNV. I don't have reviews for any of these movies because they haven't come out yet. But I have a review for John Carpenter's Body Bags up, his little anthology movie he did. Isn't that fun?
Nice. My Letterboxd plug is MJ Spiegel, all lowercase. That's MJSPIEGEL. I have my year-end ranking of every new movie I saw in 2025, and when this episode drops, or a little bit before this episode drops, I'll put out a list for my most anticipated movies of 2026, the full list. I know if you're watching this, you don't know what my top 10 are just yet, but when both parts come out, I will be sure to have my ranking of all of my most anticipated, and then I'm assuming either one of us are going to have the full combined list of all me, Jesse, and Logan's 10.
Yeah.
List, yeah.
The combined list, once part 2 comes out, the combined list will be able to be found in the description of both videos. So if you're watching this and part 2 is already out, check the description. It's there. Also follow our co-host who is unfortunately not present for this part, Logan. He is Invaded Films on Letterboxd. That is INVADED Films on Letterboxd if you want a list of all the movies that he has seen.
Yeah.
With that being said, roll credits.